Now, Trump's campaign manager and senior advisor to the Trump transition, Kellyanne Conway. By the way, Kellyanne, I don't think you hear much of this, but in the feminist world, we talk about it a lot, me and my senior producer, executive producers and others, and that is you're the first woman to win, actually to break the class ceiling and manage a successful winning presidential campaign. So, hurrah. If you haven't heard that before.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. You've got other people in print and on your network criticizing me because yesterday I dared say I may not go into the West Wing because my children are 12, 8, and 7, and all these childless people's head was on fire. So I appreciate you saying that.
Well, let's talk about your boss, once in future, perhaps, Donald Trump. Why does he get, I understand the old Pat Buchanan rule, it was actually Dick Nixon's rule. President Nixon was always attack up. Always go after other big guys, and then like Nixon attacked, Johnson made the mistake of attacking Nixon and got Nixon basically nominated by doing it back in '66. Nixon was the nominee by '68. Why does Donald Trump, who's a big guy, attack this little labor leader out in Indiana?
He's just correcting the record. Chris, and
he's saying the guy's a joke. Okay,
no, he is. Look, with the steel workers, like the coal miners, when Hillary Clinton promised that she would put the coal industry out of business, mark my word, it was a big inflection point in the campaign because the steel workers heard that, the pipe fitters heard that, the guys in the unions where you and I grew up together, Chris, heard that. And it was a very important part of his centerpiece, really, of his campaign, helped him win states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan. And he's just setting the record straight. People feel like with Donald Trump, they have license to say whatever the heck they want about this guy with no consequences, with no blowback. The guy has a right to defend himself, and he rarely draws first blood. It's when he is attacked, he likes to set the record straight.
Okay, let me ask you about this real situation. He's out there at Ohio State University, the Ohio State University tonight, part of the victory tour. But of course, they were victimized out there by a terror attack. What is his latest position on dealing with Islamic terrorism? I know the phrase is something that he's familiar with and likes to use, and I've got no problem with that. The question is, how do you deal with people that come into this country or born in this country who somehow find themselves radicalized here by al-Maliki or somebody on social media? Somehow they become radicalized when they weren't, when their parents came here, when they came here. How do you catch them in the act then?
Well, and that's what happened in Orlando, really. You have the lone wolf terrorism, you have the lone wolf program that I don't think is as good as it could be, or Omar Mateen would have been stopped. So you have that situation. You have the San Bernardino situation where they come in otherwise, newly, not born here, and I guess the woman came in through a fiancé visa, I believe it was, a K-1 visa. So there's all different types of terrorism here and abroad where he's going to look at that very clearly. He had put out probably 4 or 5 months ago now, Chris, his speech on defeating radical Islamic terrorism. It's there for anybody to see. They can pull it up tonight, 4 or 5 points on how to do that. It also includes better vetting from countries that have a known history of exporting and harboring and training terrorists. And look, the country responded to that. I think security and his toughness on this was a big centerpiece of his win.
But what do you do about people who are American, as you and me? They grow up, maybe their parents came from somewhere in the Mideast, but they went to school, got along with everybody, and things went wrong for them in life in some cases. They felt like misfits in this country. They got angry, and they did terrible things. They committed terrorism. How do you stop that? Or is that just an unanswerable question?
Well, part of it's unanswerable.
Like in Ohio State, in that area where he's going to tonight.
That's right. But part of it is really to always have that proper balance between our civil liberties and the need for the government to have surveillance where they have a reason to surveilling individuals. And so that's always going to be a delicate balance. It's not going to be perfect, but I think most people can agree it's been far from perfect over the last several years.
I wonder if it can
really hasn't worked
in a free society.
And it actually hasn't gone well in Europe either. I mean, look what's happened there. The idea that President Obama referred to ISIS as contained and no longer advancing, and the JV team shortly before they enacted some of their murderous savagery. The idea that Hillary Clinton referred to them in her convention speech in our Philadelphia, Chris, as, quote, our determined enemies. Why not just call them what they are? Murderers, savages. She referred to pro-life Republicans as terrorists. She doesn't refer to the terrorists as terrorists. No wonder she lost.
Okay, well, you got that shot in there. Fair enough. Let me ask you about the Romney. I have a feeling Romney's not going to get it. I still have a feeling that Rudy Giuliani's going to get it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I can't say. That's Donald Trump's decision, and I will respect the president-elect's decision either way. I can tell you the field has really expanded. And look, for me, it was never Rudy versus Romney. I don't know why people were making it that kind of cage match. I know it's great on TV, and it's great because they're two big personalities who had different levels of loyalty to Donald Trump, the candidate. But the fact is, he's really expanded the search. He's really,
well,
yes,
the different
really
levels of loyalty. What level of loyalty would you ascribe to Mitt Romney? He tried to kill the guy. He devoted, it was like a vendetta. It was like a crusade, if you will, to get rid of Trump. And now Trump's considering him to be his top cabinet member? Is that for real?
Well, we know where I come down on this, but my opinion doesn't matter. The Donald Trump's opinion matters, and I've been very passionate about this privately and somewhat publicly. But here's the thing: the search has expanded. You know, other people have been coming into Trump Tower to interview for this position. General Petraeus, Senator Corker, who would probably face fairly easy confirmation in the Senate, who's the head of the Foreign Relations Committee. You have Alan Mulally here today. You have Rex Tillerson here on Tuesday. So you've got captains of industry, you have generals, you have former governors, mayors. And I like the fact that this field expanded because it's an incredibly important position. Chris, I mean, the one thing Donald Trump is doing is he's not just rewarding donors and personal friends with cabinet positions. These are people who are qualified to do the job. And that has to apply to Secretary of State.
Well, I definitely have to give credit to a guy who brought back Ford Motor Company. It's amazing what Mulally did out there. Anyway, Trump's pick to head the Labor Department is kind of curious. Andrew Puzder, the CEO of several major food chains. In the past, Puzder has argued against raising the minimum wage, but fair enough, that's a Republican position. But he's also championed the use of machines to replace human workers at his restaurants. He said earlier this year, quote, "Machines are always polite. They always upsell," whatever that means. They never take a vacation. They never show up late. There's never a slip and fall or an age, sex, or race discrimination case. Well, excuse me, of course there is, but they're not human beings. They don't have the rights of citizens under the law. That doesn't sound like a friend of the working guy or the working woman to me, Kellyanne.
Oh, he is indeed. The man has created thousands and thousands of jobs, as you know. He's created enormous wealth for his, he's created enormous wealth for his employees. He's just, I think that comment is based on the realities of the workplace in some instances, Chris. But nobody can deny this man is in touch with how to create jobs, the importance of labor and management roles and responsibilities. I think he's a great choice.
Okay, we're going to talk later about this artificial intelligence thing, because I don't like going through LaGuardia Airport, which I do like LaGuardia Airport. I don't like going through it and seeing every single job that used to be serving you a donut or a coffee replaced by a little computer thing. And you know what I'm talking about. It's just, it's very troubling. Anyway,
it's also very embarrassing when it's also very embarrassing when you can't figure out how to do it.
Yeah, you figure out how to get it. And then some guy comes over with a hamburger. Anyway, after the sharp exchange you had with Clinton Communications Director Jennifer Palmieri, primarily from her end at that Harvard forum last week, Palmieri wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post today. She said, among other things, I don't know whether the Trump campaign needed to give a platform to white supremacists to win, but the campaign clearly did, and had the effect of empowering the white nationalist movement. I think they call it law, your rebuttal, your final rebuttal to the op-ed piece, which was a rebuttal to what you and to what your campaign did. Is this going to end?
Ask Jen Palmieri that, because she's writing an op-ed. Somebody else in the Washington Post today has a scathing headline about me, which is not true, but did lead to some death threats today. So that'll be on their doorstep. The fact is that this campaign ran a race where we reached into those working class voters who felt like they were the forgotten man or forgotten woman. They were the base of our support. We also managed what could have been bigger deficits among women. Since we were running against the first female president, we figured out a way to reach women in our messaging. Otherwise, how in the world do you explain Hillary Clinton only getting about 55, 56% among women and not 60, 65%, Chris, where she would have won? We ran the tables among union households, among rural voters. We did much better with white women, of which Hillary Clinton is in that demographic, than people expected, 53% of them. We managed to win voters over the age of 55, I believe, 55 to 64, 65 plus. I mean, you can't take that away from us. We busted the blue wall in states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and for them to pretend it was because of this issue is not just insulting, it's empirically false. And Chris, all they needed to do was have a compelling, sticky, persuadable, aspirational message to the American people. If you can sit here right now and tell me, as a brilliant political mind, what Hillary Clinton's message was, I'm listening. What was it? All I heard was, we're not Donald Trump. That's not a message. That's a screed. They lost.
Well, that's right. By the way, James Carville said that on election night right here when I was sitting with Rachel and Brian.
And look, scapegoating, white supremacy, scapegoating Jim Comey, Russian interference, fake news, Bernie Sanders. He had the audacity to run. Why did he do that? How about he won 22 states and 13 million voters, and they never fully assimilated him back in? And then anytime I respond, anytime I defend myself against these specious allegations that are now leading to death threats, so I really resent it. Anytime I try to respond, I'm seen as ungracious. Why are we sore winners? I'm not a sore winner. I'm a winner. My guy's a winner. He's an ex-president of the United States. This has to stop, Chris. This incendiary rhetoric of people who just can't admit that they lost. It has to stop because it's costing a lot of angst.
I agree with you. I also hope that, and I don't think you have any control of this, I hope the racists and the bad guys and the white nationalists stay away from your inauguration, because they will show up with the Confederate battle flag. They'll be bombing around the city. You can know that'll happen. You don't want it to happen. I know you don't.
And Chris, I really hope that the rabble-rousers, the protesters on both sides stay away. In other words, this is a president who is trying to reach out. He's working with the current president. He works with Secretary Clinton. She didn't just congratulate him on election night. I was right there. He was on my phone. She conceded to him. And it's time for people 1 month later who just can't get over the election result to realize that he is their president, and that take a clue from Hillary Clinton, take a clue from President Obama. Try to give this guy the berth that he needs to form his government and try to have a peaceful transfer of democracy. Donald Trump has denounced many times, including recently, and very passionately, these white supremacists, these white nationalists, the alt-right. He's done that many times. For those who want to hear it, they should hear it. For those who refuse to listen to it, please stop using it as an excuse.
Okay, thank you, Kellyanne. And on the other point, teach them to dance. Anyway, thank you, Kellyanne Conway of the Trump Transition. Great to have you on. Thank you.
I'm dancing with you at the inaugural.